Welcome everybody to our next interview. Believe or not, it's 21st interview already on the first Worldwide Online Harp Congress. And I'm so pleased and so wonderful happy to welcome today my really great friend. So since a long time, because we were studying at IU together at Indiana University in Bloomington, and it's Ela Schmidt from Poland originally, but she lives in the United States and she's a professor of the Indiana University at this moment. So it's unbelievable that we have time, that we reached her, because she's so busy even in this time. So I'm so really happy to see you, Ella, and welcome to be with us today.
Well, thank you, Jana. I'm just absolutely thrilled and touched that you asked me to do this interview. And it is hard to believe that it has been over 30 years, I think, when we were studying at IU together. And it was one of the most wonderful times of our lives. So
I have the same opinion, and I'm so really glad, because you are really the person who knew ELEANOR FELL, who is actually the person who I would like first that you can introduce her to us all, because you were not only a good friend of her, but you were also working with her in Vanderbilt. So, because ELEANOR FELL was playing at the third World Harp Congress in Vienna, what is actually all this Worldwide Online Harp Congress about. So I want you to maybe tell a little bit about her, because her performance is going to be right after our interview broadcasted. So I didn't know about anybody else who would be more competent to talk about ELEANOR FELL than you. So I'm so glad that you can talk about her. Please.
Well, ELEANOR, it's one of the most important people in my life, and I miss her tremendously. She passed away 6 years ago, 7 already. And I met her for the first time hearing her play at Vienna. I mean, I found this, believe it or not, I found the program that was the first World Harp Congress I was attending. And it was actually made possible by Joseph Molnar, who I met at Geneva competition a year earlier. And he arranged for me to be there. And during one of the performances, I saw ELEANOR on stage. And it was absolutely unforgettable. First of all, because coming from Poland, we didn't have maybe that kind of genre of playing popular music on the harp. And she was not only great host, but great performer. And it was just something so natural about the way she treated the harp, the way she talked about the harp, about her life. And just a couple months later, after the Congress, I arrived in the United States to study with our wonderful teacher, Suzanne McDonald. And there was ELEANOR right there in Bloomington. I didn't realize in Vienna that she was actually from Bloomington. Yes. And the first impression was like how funny she was. I mean, her sense of humor was just unforgettable. And besides being a wonderful harpist, ELEANOR owned the Vanderbilt Music Company. And as a student, I was working there. Well, it seems like all of us worked at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt was like a harp family, and ELEANOR, as an owner, she gave us so much. And it was beyond just providing us with excellent collection of music, harps, and strings. She really cared about every single harpist. And it was her like life mission. If you needed a job, you turn to Vanderbilt and ELEANOR would find your place and your duty. And I just never forget how lively that place was, how welcoming, and how helpful. I mean, if you needed the music, ELEANOR found it. If you needed a good harp, she would drive to Chicago to choose it for you. If you just needed anything to talk with someone, you had problems, I mean, ELEANOR was there for you. And always extremely supportive for every single student at IU. She would come to our master classes, as you remember, with gifts for everybody to welcome them to Bloomington. She would never miss a recital, no matter what. Was it a pre-college recital? Was it a doctoral recital? She was there to support us. And it's just very hard to believe that she's gone. And there are a lot of other things which I think she contributed to everybody's lives, besides her harp talent and wonderful personality.
Absolutely. And because, of course, as I believe that there are not only harpists who are listening to our interview, and there are maybe some non-musician either, just if you can say about Vanderbilt, what is it like? Because if we harpists know that it's a shop, but you should maybe just tell a little bit about that.
Vanderbilt, Eleanor started Vanderbilt when she was playing in New York, and right from her apartment, basically, because she felt like there was need in this country for a company which would provide harpists with everything what they need, starting with instruments, strings, accessories, music, benches, advice. So originally from Bloomington, she moved from New York back home and opened this wonderful store, which she owned until just a little bit before she passed away. So it was just like a harp mecca. I mean, everybody could turn there and find what they need if they were harpists.
Exactly. And Eleanor was not jazz harpist from the beginning, right? She was classical harpist, or where she studied. Do you know her background?
Well, she started with Margaret White here at Indiana University, and she had a very interesting career performing at Santa Fe and different orchestras. And she would tell her story about her mother, who always was very, I mean, you remember Mama Rose, how caring she was. And Eleanor's practically every time she performed joke was like, my mother practiced with me since I was 5 years old, and she just finished 20 minutes ago practicing with me. So Eleanor, yes, she was trained as a classical harpist, and eventually her life turned, as each of us, in kind of an unexpected turn. When she went to Africa to visit her brother, who happened to play in one of the hotels a little piano. He was not concert pianist, but he liked popular music. And I don't remember exactly if he suggested or the manager of hotel was looking for a harpist. And Arthur Fell said, well, my sister plays the harp. So Eleanor moved there for a little bit and started to play in the hotel. And she realized that she's playing all her classical pieces, you know, Handel concerto and Lasures, and people would come up to her and ask for playing something on the lighter note. Oh, well, I don't know it. So she started to arrange music, and there is, I don't remember exactly the number, but probably around 40 of arrangements she made for harp. It started with opera themes, and then Rachmaninoff pieces arranged for harp. And she continued that through her life, and was one of the pioneers of creating popular music transcribed for harp.
He was one of those who I really heard as the first one to play the jazz. And it was exactly as for you, the first experience. And she was just amazing. And the concert we will hear after our interview, it was dedicated to her. So she probably must have had some kind of anniversary on that year. In 87, because I honestly, with the ladies, we don't want to say the ages, but of course, as it was dedicated to her, and she was quite young at that time, so I would guess that it was 50 maybe at the time.
Probably. As I said, that was the first time I saw Eleanor on stage. And I don't think I even was able to talk with her afterwards. I mean, I remember that hall was huge and very hot, if you remember. But it was a lovely performance and very refreshing and very inspiring too. I thought like, wow, I never would think of, I remember Stella Castellucci was playing at that concert too. And do you remember who else?
Harvey Griffin was there. And also at the beginning, I had to take the program also, Alfredo Randa Ortiz.
Alfredo Ortiz, yes.
And then there was also Naoko Kubo from Japan.
Yes.
Yeah, so there was these 5 people playing at the same concert. So we will hear all of them today. So
yes, and you know, Eleanor from Africa moved to Switzerland and played there, then to Japan and played there for several years in Tokyo. And I remember several harpists took over the job she had in Tokyo. She helped some of the harpists to actually start this kind of career. From the scratch in Tokyo, taking over after her. But what was interesting, it was development of her as a musician in this kind of different area. Because she said, my mother never thought that instead of being a principal harpist at the major orchestra, I will finish playing in a Rainbow Room restaurant in New York City. But Eleanor was one of the person who set the very high bar for this kind of performances. It wasn't just background music. It was an art, and her natural way of playing was just captivating. It was something so elegant and so natural, admirable. I mean, I have to say, when I saw Eleanor playing for the first time, not on the stage, but sitting next to me, I thought, oh my goodness, that looks so easy. Her sound is so beautiful. I want my hands to move so easily on the harp and so musically, because there was something so natural about the way she phrased, no matter what she played.
Absolutely. I remember it. She was also very good in improvising, what is very rare, but she was absolutely amazing, and exactly the same impression. Everything seemed to be so easy, and she could play whatever theme you gave her with fun. She was even making fun, you know. You will also all see that, because you remember that from Vienna, but she was even talking to the people like, oh, you know, like making some jokes during the performance. She was always so funny.
Yeah, she gave also a concert during one of the international harp competitions here at the Alumni Hall, and it was just so greatly attended. Yeah, she was the entertainer.
Absolutely.
She always used her witty sense of humor to talk about herself and about the harp and about her journey through years. Just recently, thinking of Eleanor, because she passed away at the beginning of June, I remember, I was thinking there was this amazing idea she had. Let's do fundraising for USA Harp competition. And she gave the show, and I remember Miss McDonald and Sarah Bowen and Jane Yoon and Balthazar and myself, we also performed at that gala. And part which Eleanor was hosting is on YouTube. And I watched that just recently. Dwayne Busick put that on YouTube. So for anyone who would like to really meet Eleanor performing and speaking to the audience, please find on the YouTube Eleanor Fell and Harp Mania video.
Super. For sure, everybody should do so, because it's very inspiring. And exactly what you said, she was not entertainer only like background music. She was real, very, very, very good harpist, which is by the combination, it's totally unique, and she was really exceptional. And do you know what age she really started? When she was 5 years old, the harp. So
Yeah.
her parents were musicians, or it was just coming like that, or?
Her mother played violin, and I think her father played also an instrument, but it was a very musical family. And Eleanor always would bring to her presentations a picture of her family using different instruments. And there she was with a little non-pedal harp sitting next to her brother and sister. And yes, it was a very musical family.
I know that she was really attending all the events which were happening in IU. I remember we have also the similar time birthday together, and Miss McDonald was doing always the birthday party at her house. And each month was those students who had the birthday celebrating. And I know it was you, it was Liz Hyman. And
then, yes, and Tracy Ralston.
Yeah, exactly. 4 of us. Yeah. So I have somewhere the picture, and there is also Eleanor on the picture as well. And it was really, she was always part of these great parties and great events everywhere she was. That's very true.
That is very true. And speaking of birthday, when Suzanne McDonald's mother was turning 90, I remember we had like a special concert for her at the Meadowood Retirement Place, where we always performed. And Eleanor made an arrangement called Harpy Birthday. Mm-hmm. And she performed for the first time Happy Birthday as it would be written by Beethoven, Mozart, in the style of Bizet. And of course, on the end, she was singing the Happy Birthday. But this arrangement has been published by Vanderbilt. And if anybody would like to play Happy Birthday in the style of those musicians, should get the music.
I totally remember that. And is there any recording of her on YouTube, or did someone make a recording of when she was performing that, or it doesn't exist?
I'm pretty sure somebody would put that on the YouTube. I haven't seen on YouTube, but I heard her playing it so many times in live performances.
So if anybody has it, please don't hesitate to put it on YouTube, because I'm sure that everybody would love to hear it and to see that. Yes. It was really very, very interesting. It's so beautiful as well. Yeah, that's great. And do you know when she was for the last time at the Congress? Do you know that?
Well, she would travel to World Harp Congresses not only as harpist and performer, but also having Vanderbilt exhibiting on most of the congresses. It is hard for me to say. I know that for sure she was in Prague and in Geneva, Paris. I think she probably would go to every single one until she passed away.
She could, yeah, of course. It was a big shock for everyone. I know that it was not something it's always very hard, yeah, to accept. But
Eleanor was she was battling cancer for a while, and she was probably the only person who would laugh about her condition. But at one point, she just decided that it's time. And I found about her condition coming back from Poland, and I remember turning on my cell phone, driving back from the airport. And I was very jet lagged, and I look at the email, and there was email from her son, Scott, who I'm sure you remember, that Eleanor is in hospice. And I was literally going to spend 2 days in Bloomington before traveling somewhere else. And Jana and I went to see her in the hospice. And I had a major meltdown. and I might tear up right now thinking about it, but there was Rona Hawkinson and there were some other friends, and here I was crying, and Eleanor was talking with everybody, joking. I mean, she was just joking, and she was like, my hair doesn't look good today. Oh, now I can eat everything what I want. I'm not on a diet anymore. It was just something so Eleanor-like. And as I said, I had a major meltdown, and she passed away a week later. So I got to see her just till the very last moment.
But she was a very exceptional lady, absolutely in all the ways. She was really beautiful inside, outside. She was absolutely very special. So if someone had not a chance to meet her ever, please try to really search for her a lot, because she will inspire you, and she will give you really the inspiration for all your life. She was the inspiration for everybody, because even from those interpretation which are found on the YouTube, you can see how wonderful person she was.
You know, there was something else what was interesting. You know, there we were, I mean, we had a fabulous time being at IU together, and unforgettable. And starting with Suzanne MacDonald, who was just such an idol for us. And we just, I mean, our class was one of, I think, the most fun. And so many great harpists were studying at the same time. And then there was Eleanor, who was like, I don't know. I mean, she would take care about every aspect of your performance. So she would suggest for people would come to masterclass, and she would talk about how people should put their hair for the performance. She would one time brought her stylist and makeup artist to work with students. So they would know how to present themselves in the best way, what to wear, and so there was a lot of different dimensions to her contribution to our lives.
That's absolutely true. And Ella, when you mentioned this really time of us, do you remember that you can say who was studying there during that? I was there, unfortunately, only 1 year. But if you remember it was 25 students. Can you imagine? Yeah. I remember it was such a huge and really large school class. I mean, a harp class at that time. And really, as you said, the most wonderful harp players at that moment.
I mean, there was, besides two of us, I mean, Elizabeth Heng was there, Kirsten Agresta, Uli Brinkspire, Beverly Hain, Natalie Ristic from Yugoslavia. I mean, there was a very international class. Yu from Korea, and Laurie Berger.
Yeah, the one from Bulgaria, Maria. Yeah, and anyway, because I only have the big picture of all of us on the garden of Miss MacDonald, but honestly, I don't anymore remember all the names of everyone.
Shirin from Turkey. Yes. Oh my goodness. I mean, I don't want to omit anyone, but there was so many of us. And
absolutely, but we all know, and we have them all in our mind and heart, and I absolutely I will not remember all of the names.
Tisha Marvihill, Lisha Jaskunas,
exactly.
Margarita Arnau, Anne Benjamin. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Anne Young was there.
Lilia Chan, Shannon, we speak of Taiwan, and all those international students. John Kwak.
Indeed. No, it was really incredible class. And as you said, every week the master classes as well, and the house which doesn't exist anymore. Also, everything was so connected, and it was a really amazing time. And what is even more, together, two of us, that I was in the second semester, I was staying and living in the place where you stayed before. So I moved to your apartment afterwards.
You were subletting my apartment. That's very
Tina's place. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and Ella.
Yes, I was thinking about those times. I mean, what you mentioned, the master classes, we would pack Miss McDonald's studio, and the master class almost had no limits at that time. I remember we sometimes had master classes at Miss McDonald's guest house, and they were in the evening, and sometimes it was 11 p.m. and we still were there playing. And Eleanor would come to most of them.
Exactly.
You know, after I graduated and started to teach at IU, I would invite Eleanor to each of my master class for younger students and for college students, and she would give this almost the same performance every single time, and she would say, oh, I can't believe you are inviting me again. I said, look, the students are rotating. There's a new group and I want everyone to experience your uniqueness in a sense. And again, the studio would be packed because I asked people to bring friends as well, you know, family members, and everybody just found her so adorable in a sense as a musician and a person. And of course, I have to mention the famous game which Miss McDonald would organize in her house. You remember there was always a big party. We all would descend into Miss McDonald's beautiful house. She would have this just wonderful, wonderful reception for all of us. And there she was with Eleanor presenting a game called Name That Tune, where Miss McDonald would play one note and Eleanor was giving the gifts which she prepared for all of us, whoever could name that tune after one note. I mean, I wish I would have recordings of that because it was just so unique. There was the distinguished professor of harp playing with us the game, like, well, recognize this piece after just seeing the gestures, how I play. And Eleanor, of course, was a big part of that too.
Indeed, and it was about the classical pieces, of course. It was not about the pop pieces. It was about the harp repertoire, so that everybody will really immediately know what kind of piece is it. So it was really very funny. It was very wonderful. I must say that this group of people was so unique that everything was like situated in one place. It was also, I still remember a little bit Linda Wood when she was there. Oh. Then, yeah, so it was still this kind of really group of amazing family. And it was, Ella, how long have you been to Bloomington already? It's
well, I mean, if you do the math, I arrived in Bloomington in 1987, just following the Congress was in July and I arrived here in August and I never left. I spent more than half of my life in Bloomington, and it has been a beautiful time. And I feel very lucky and absolutely honored that I stayed to teach here after Linda left. And of course, you know, both of our lives were changed dramatically after starting here with Suzanne McDonald. And meeting Eleanor and having this just life experience on every single direction, in every single direction.
Of course, and Ella, because you are a really wonderful and beloved teacher of the students, and how you started to play the harp. You are from Poland, where of course now it's very established harpists, harp classes and harp teachers as well. But in your period of time, it was not as many harpists from your country. So how did you start the harp?
Just by pure accident. I was 15 years old and I was playing piano for 4 years before that. And I met the harp teacher on the hallway I was applying to a conservatory of music in piano class, and I couldn't find a room. And there was this very attractive blonde woman standing on the hallway. I said, excuse me, where's the room number, this and this? And she said, well, what do you play? And I said, play piano. And she said, well, do you want to play harp? And I was like, wow, that is interesting. I didn't even know that harp had pedals at that time. But I like the personality of the person very much. And she actually inspired me to apply to harp class on the piano. We did not have a primary schools offering harp as an instrument, so most people started in high school, as I did. And I didn't have a harp at home, of course. I practiced only at school, and my family. I remember my parents; they just trusted me that I'm going in the afternoon to school of music, and I play harp because they did not hear me play until a concert. I played 5 years later Mozart with flute and harp concerto with orchestra, and my parents could hear me play. So it was just very interesting and probably very familiar for your circumstances coming from Czechoslovakia at that time. I didn't have a harp. I was lucky enough to get into Academy of Music, and I was studying also psychology as a backup. But I had a very strong interest in science. So right when I was almost about to graduate from Academy of Music, I came to United States to take part in master class given by Suzanne McDonald, and she gave me a scholarship to come here to study with her for months. And she asked if I would be interested in coming to IU to study. And of course, I mean, I could never afford that. And she arranged for a great scholarship for me to come and study. And it's almost like the rest is history. I came back to Poland after that master class. I finished my last year of master's degree in psychology and harp. And I came to study at IU. And it was like beyond any dreams. And it has been in 1987.
Unbelievable. So you did, of course, your bachelor, you did your master, and you did your also the artistic diploma, or?
I did an artist diploma at Indiana University. I already had my master's from Poland.
I see.
But also, it was a different degree, if you remember.
Of course.
You had to play 6 recitals to get the diploma. Now it's only 4 recitals required to accommodate a lot of foreigners who are coming, foreign students who come only for 2 years period of time. And to play 6 recitals in 2 years would be very difficult.
Of course. Wow. But as you mentioned that you started quite late for the recent time, because you started when you were 15, you said. Yeah, so it's really but the background of the piano, which is great. But as I remember, when I was participating at the competition in Bloomington, you were there as well. So you did not play too long time, and you were already participating at the competition.
Yes, I mean the first USA harp competition. That's right. I was there, and I didn't have really ideas of I want to win the competition. I wanted to prepare the program. I felt like the pieces which were selected for that competition were very, very good. There was a deadline, and I like that. I like that push, and Miss McDonald was great about just giving us this inspiration. You're going to compete, but you compete only with yourself, and that helped really build the right self-esteem, I think for each of us. And I remember playing first stage and thinking, this is so unreal. I'm just all of a sudden, after a couple of years of preparation on that stage alone, and it felt good. And I thought, oh, my dream would be to play in the second stage, because there was Orego Salas variations and Châtelain en Satur, my beloved piece, and Rhapsody. And that was my dream. And the dream came through because I got to second stage. And I guess because I like those pieces so much, I passed to semifinal at that time. So that was beyond of my expectations in a sense. But I felt like, we were prepared so well for competing. And I'm very grateful for that experience. Very grateful.
It's true that this kind of push, I know that many people, not many, but some people just say that the competitions, it's something what is not important. Honestly, I have different opinion. It's really not about to compete with to make the feeling that I want to show that I am the best. It's about really, as you said very well, it's about competing with ourselves. To be sure that we can do the best from ourselves, and just that we have some target, that we have some goal where we have to prepare the pieces. And this is exactly what you said, very important.
You know, it's like running marathon. You have to pace yourself. You have to build that stamina. And I remember Miss McDonald always saying, well, let's face it, there's only one person happy after the competition. It's the first prize winner. And you've been a first prize winner in many competitions. So, you know, it feels great. But at the same time, you know, if you are second or third or fourth or fifth, you know, sometimes those points add up in such a way that you should not feel like you are a lesser musician than the first prize winner. You know, you can have a really good day. You can have the right repertoire to play at the right time. And there's so many dimensions to performance and competition. It's an inspiration, I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, you may get some money, you may get some concerts engagements. Of course, it helps, it facilitates, but it does not define, I think, our
the way how it goes,
or ranking, you know. Who is the top harpist in the world. I mean, some people never competed in the competitions or competed once, and they are just one, or never won, and they are absolutely fabulous harpist musicians. So
right, but it's true that only for working on the program for the competition, it's something so important, because even if finally the students will decide not to go, at that moment, even they are still pushed to learn program which they can use for the entire life, because those competitions which we are talking about, they are really huge, and you have 4 hours program only just to learn those competitions, you know, so it's really a lot for the life.
Well, I feel you're so right what you say about the building of the repertoire. I feel like I still play the same pieces which I learned so many years ago. That was 1989, the first USA harp competition, and I enjoy playing them, and I learned them so well because of that really grueling preparation.
Indeed.
For that event. So
indeed, exactly, because you really push yourself to do it the best way from your part of view. So that's exactly. And I remember when you were saying about the master classes with Ms. McDonough, it was the first time in my life when as I said, I was there not too long time, only 2 semesters, but the first time when I came to the master class and I played something, and Ms. McDonough said, in 2 weeks you will play the C.P. Bach sonata. I said, like, what, in 2 weeks? So, and I really had to play in 2 weeks the C.P. Bach sonata, which was, for me, absolutely, I thought that it's not possible, but it is possible. If you know that there is a target, you can do unbelievable things.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And the whole environment of Indiana University Harp Department, it was like the right place to do that. I don't know if you had the same impression, but I'm sure you did, that it was not like competing with your friends. It was a supportive group. I had a terrible problems with nerves when I came here. I never performed other than exams in Poland. I mean, maybe with the few exceptions. And the first thing Miss McDonald said, like, well, I want you to play on every single master class. And I thought, oh my goodness. And it was terrifying. And she also would say to other students, when you see Ella practicing, go into the room and ask her to play something for you. It was just incredible how, I mean, that was just like a miracle. And I advise that to all my students as well. performing, you have to practice. You have to practice performing. And for me, it was also a new phenomena that we had master classes every single week. And
Absolutely.
it's just brilliant, brilliant.
Absolutely. It was also possible because really the students were so fabulous that they could learn the program in such a short time to show something, because sometimes, of course, the students have some limits, and even in 1 month, it's difficult to tell them that you will play in 1 month a new piece, you know, so that's really sometimes very, and of course, with 25 students, you have much more abilities to do master classes in the program that can fill the time.
But another aspect to that, I think the master class was not to just bring a new repertoire to play, but also the idea of keeping up the repertoire and playing pieces which you played before, and bringing them back just for master class. It was just fabulous, fabulous.
Very true. And Ella, because as I was there really only as a non-degree student, do you do also, even in these days, some sight reading lessons, or is it like a part of the studies?
You know, we don't have like a class for sight reading, but you can easily, as a teacher, detect who has a problem with sight reading, and to guide them through. I mean, I had this fabulous teacher in Poland, the only teacher before studying with Suzanne MacDonald, Alina Baranowska. And I remember her saying one time, "Oh, you can't sight read." And I thought, help me. But I didn't say it. I just thought about it. And I realized that, you know, it is the skill which you can learn. And one of the person who helped me with this was Tisha Marvihill, who said, "I tell you what your problem is with sight reading. You just want to play everything perfectly. And sight reading is about just glancing through and getting the rhythm and most of the notes." And I'm using that advice, I'm giving this advice, using that suggestion with my students. And younger they are, better. You have to feel confident about it, and you can learn that skill.
Yeah, the only thing is that if you sight read at the orchestra and you play wrong notes, it's a little bit complicated. So that's,
well, I mean, how often do we need to sight read in the orchestra?
Can happen that you get some parts and you have just to play right away from the, but it's true that exactly what you said, it's very easy to learn if the people just take the music and just at home once a day they play something what they just take from the package, like to just which they have never played. You easily get to learn to play from. I have also never knew how to sight read, and of course life learned and taught me. Yeah, so that's exactly.
Yeah, you are so right. You know, life can teach us, but also, you know, how we prepare our students how to study the score from the beginning. You know, it's not that you just, oh, actually, Skyla Kanga has this great several volumes of sight reading exercises, and on the entrance exams, we would ask people to sight read and using some of those materials. And you can tell when somebody's savvy about it. I mean, they look at the key signature, time signature before starting instead of just learning in the seventh measure. I had wrong pedals. So yes, I mean, you're very right. It's a skill, but you learn it as you go.
Indeed. And are you going sometimes to Poland to teach there as well, to bring what you learn in the United States to bring to?
I have to say I have absolutely the greatest admiration and respect for my teacher in Poland, who after I went to study at Indiana University, she was extremely supportive. Actually, a couple of years before I met Suzanne MacDonald, she said, "You know what, you have to go and study with someone else. I taught you everything what I know." And I thought, no way. And she said, "Look, I've been playing in orchestra for 35 years. Last time I played Hindemith, it was She actually studied in Prague. It was whatever 30 years ago, and you know what? I of course said no way, but deep down I felt like I needed something more. And when I met Suzanne McDonald, I felt like this is it. I'm not looking anywhere else. Uh, it was just like the perfect match. Suzanne McDonald gave me what I lacked. Um, Great learning, great repertoire, and stop playing like a student, start playing as an artist. You know, this kind of guidance, I mean, was just incredible. But going back to Poland, I mean, my teacher would organize every couple of years the huge master classes, which I would teach.
Mhm.
And for the first time, I felt like the community of harpists in Poland were brought together. Almost harpists from every school, every town in Poland would come to those master classes. And sometimes I would teach 12 hours a day. But I felt I learned so much at IU, and I would like to share that with Polish harpists. Of course, the reality of Polish harpistry, if you can use that term, 30 years ago, it was pretty tragic. I mean, people didn't have instruments, but mainly students didn't have music. I remember traveling with suitcase of music to share, and also going back to ELEANOR and Vanderbilt music. ELEANOR would give me a lot of scores for me to give to students in Poland. Not only that, but when I worked at Vanderbilt, I mean, there was another dimension to my education. My job was to play through the entire inventory of Vanderbilt music and putting in a computer notes what is the level of this piece, difficulty level, but also is it what age group, what genre? Should we order more of those pieces because they should be recommended and so forth? So I felt like during those years at Vanderbilt, I learned a lot about harp literature. And especially, you know, I mean, for me, the tremendous discovery of pedagogical materials. Coming from Poland, we had a Grossi method and first Paré book, and that's what people would study. My teacher, who traveled a lot with Warsaw Philharmonic, had access of buying some music abroad, and she would share that with us. But the resources were very limited. And you know, I would teach those master classes in Poland, and I would say to teachers who also attended the classes, like, no, there are better things than Betty Paré. Look at graded recital pieces by Suzanne McDonald and Linda Wood. I mean, those two ladies contributed so amazingly to creating the right repertoire for people to start on the harp. Those pieces were harpistic. And of course, we have other people like Andres and Gustafsson, and list goes on. But they were one of the first one to to make it popular, those graded recital pieces. And I tried to carry on that torch, and I still do. And yes, I did teach, I don't remember, 10 of those master classes in Poland every 2 years, every 3 years. And I also brought a lot of my students there to experience Polish reality. One time, 8 of my students traveled to Poland, and they were just in disbelief that we play instruments like the Russian harps with the nylon strings, and people play well. I mean, now people can get better instruments, but still, schools have pretty limited access to good instruments right now.
That's true. As you were also from the communist country, did you also use the Fizoma strings from the East Germany?
No, we had
like Pirastro was from the West Germany and Fizoma strings were from the East Germany. They were like also the gut strings, but of course the quality was not as good. But this was the strings which we were. They were the strings which we were using in
we had in Academy of Music. I remember we had Jana strung with nylon strings, and the strings were locked up, and only teacher could change the string, and everybody was practicing at school. So if you broke a string and there was no teacher around, I mean, nobody could use the instrument. Interestingly enough, I remember my experience coming to IU, where we had like, I don't know, 15, 16 concert grand harps. And I sat to play on the first one, and I thought, this is the best instrument in the world. And it is in practice room. And Miss McDonald, when I told her I would like to play my artist diploma audition on harp number, whatever, 4, she said, oh, honey, that's our worst harp. And I was like, oh, they are better than this. It was, I don't know, I mean, playing on the gut strings was very hard for me too, because it's a different tension. But, you know, that's history now.
But it's a nice history, put it this way, but it's memory. It's something what we keep in our life, you know. It's something what pushed us on the other directions, and it's something what we keep. And maybe at least me, as I'm getting older, I really like this nostalgic, still to go back and to think about and go back on this wonderful time, because it was wonderful time. Or maybe we make it now as a wonderful time, but I feel like it was really something very special, which I did not feel any politics anywhere, like pushing us or something, or no intrigues. I felt like very spontaneous and beautiful, without any problem life, you know, just really having great time with great people. And it was really something special.
And, you know, you're so right. And look at us. I mean, so many years after being at IU, we always keep in touch. We don't have to see each other, you know, for a year. And it still feels like the same time. And I had that conversation with Shirin, who came here during last harp competition. And, you know, we've been in touch for years. We always practice on the 2 Salvi harps at school in one practice room. And I said, look, Shirin, so many years, and it's like nothing changed. We didn't even get older. No.
And you know what, Ella? This gave me an idea. We should just put all of us together once, and just to really make meeting all of the class from the 90s, so that we can again come and make the party as we have done with Miss McDonald and with all of us together, because to remind all these beautiful, beautiful memories and this wonderful time. I think that we should do that.
Oh, that would be wonderful. But look, how many lives were touched by studying here. Every World Harp Congress you go to, you meet friends from IU. You and you know, when you see Miss McDonald and Linda Wood, you just think like, wow, that feels like being at home, you know, together. And we, of course, miss Eleanor, that's part of that group.
And when you mentioned Eleanor, just come back to her also. Can you just tell us, because you mentioned that she was studying at IU, but she was living before in New York. So who she was starting with the harp?
With whom she started harp?
Yes, who was her first teacher? If you know, of course.
Do I look like I know? Probably not.
I thought it was someone like maybe that she was studying with Grangiani or with someone who was in New York.
No. She did not go to study in New York.
I see. Okay.
She studied at IU. That was her degree. She got from Indiana University with Margaret White, who was teaching here, I think, at the same time as Peter Eagle. And, they were before, of course, Suzanne McDonald. But no, when she was in New York, she was performing. She was performing.
And she was never playing in the orchestra. She was. She played in Santa Fe. Okay.
Yes, in Santa Fe Opera and another orchestra. But yes, she was a wonderful orchestral harpist.
So that's why it came that also she made so many transcriptions for the opera themes and opera.
Yeah, that's probably. But she said the inspiration for making transcriptions were given her by people who requested certain piece, like, oh, could you play Malagueña? Like Salvador Dali, who lived in the hotel she played in New York. He would come and come to her and say, play Malagueña, and she thought, okay, so I better learn Malagueña or make some arrangement. Somebody in Switzerland said, oh, can you play Viennese waltzes? And she always had this answer, like, do I look like, 100 pieces orchestra? I mean, I'm a harpist. But she made those arrangements because people would ask her to play certain pieces.
And I really always enjoyed, and you will hear it today also, that she was always able to do the medley, like from one piece to another piece. She was just jumping from one theme to another, and everybody was like expecting, oh, and she's already in some other piece. Was it she was doing it really like a fun, or it was that she was just maybe thinking, well, I don't know how it continues, so I'll go to another piece? Or how
I think it was one of Eleanor's shticks. Like, she made this arrangement. At first it was like more of a like joke. And there's this piece called, not piece, but her publication, Be a Show Off.
Right.
She starts with Handel concerto, and suddenly she's playing Mozart, of course, different keys. And from Mozart, she goes on to Debussy dances, then Introduction and Allegro, and then falsetto variations, and finishes with La Danse de Sylph by Godefroy. So she actually published that medley. But she would do that spontaneously one time, and then it was so popular that she decided to share with everyone.
Yeah, but as she was really able to improvise, as I said already, so in her interpretation, it was always different, because she always adds something by herself to make it different. So of course, what is in the music published, it is like the structure, how it can sound like, but probably the person should always add their own personality into it, right?
And she said I don't think Eleanor would say, oh, I am improvising, but she had that skill of embellishing things which are like coming from the theme, like T42. I don't know if you remember her arrangement, and just starting with chords, then playing broken chords, then using arpeggios and so forth. Her probably my favorite arrangement Eleanor did, it's Satin Doll, and whatever is published, it's not what you hear on her recording. She adds things. She always make them different. And also telling people, I mean, go ahead, try it. It's fun. Add another pedal slide, add another glissando. But she always shared with harpists that the skill of knowing the glissandos and how you can change the keys, it's very, very important.
Yes. And did she had any did she give any lessons of this kind of the glisses, the pedal glisses structures? Because this is not easy, and I know that it exists some book where you can see all the tonalities of the glisses and everything. But did she give also some master classes for that, for the students?
Yes, I mean, she would talk about arranging music and how she does it, like she has the lead sheet and how she builds the chords, but she also had like the formula for, like, you raise this step and you lower this and then you move to the next, and she always shared that with students. I still have like a package from her, of her notes and like make the clever glisses and so forth.
Yes, because of course with the piano, everybody knows how to do this, but of course on the harp with the pedals, there must be some tricks for the people who play the jazz, because they need to know exactly that it's some kind of the same, you know, and they don't need to think about it, because they have to have it like in the structure, which they know that it's one rule for everything. And probably she must have also had some kind of rule for that.
Well, Eleanor had a perfect pitch. I mean, that's another thing, that Eleanor could hear anything and tune the harp without a tuner perfectly.
Wow.
Incredible skill. But I certainly could not play jazz and improvise, I can tell you that.
Me neither. I really admire everybody who does and who can.
But there is someone like Eleanor and many others. I mean, look how beautifully this kind of type of music grew in our instrument.
I have seen also, it's about 1 month ago, Park Stickney was giving some also live introduction to the jazz, and I was really watching with the open mouth, because I was just like, wow, this is so, and I was immediately going to try it, because I was so impressed that actually it is easy, and he had really the skill for making the chromatic by very easy way of pedals. I was just like so impressed that it really works, you know. And that's something what I thought that maybe even Eleanor needed to have, you know, this kind of imagination.
You know, some people just have it, and you know, I have the summer masterclass in North Carolina, and I teach that with Jen Jennings, who to me has skills which I don't, and I feel like we complement each other. Like, I like to teach classical music, and she likes to teach popular music, and you know, we have always faculty concert, and I play all my classical things in the first half. In the second half of the performance, Jan just goes to the audience and asks people what they would like to hear, then sits down and play every single request in a medley. For me, every single time I hear her doing it, it's just like, how do you do that? And yes, modulations and keeping, I mean, some people are just amazing.
They are really gifted. No, those people are really gifted to do so, you know. You can learn to play anything when you really practice a lot. You can always learn. But I don't know if these scales, you can maybe learn, but you have to really be always in it, like to study it. But it's something these people are gifted from the God, so they know it right away.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people, you know. It's like, I mean, Park Stickney, but I mean, look at Jacques and Deborah Henson-Conant and many others. I mean, this is now part of new generation.
Exactly. No, I really admire all those people who can just play and they hear and whatever. And I must say, now, to take a little different topic, but we are so like free now and so spontaneous. Today, my elder son, he has also perfect pitch, and he has to do the homework, and he has to play something on the piano totally in the different tonality, and to sing different notes to it, which are totally out of tonality and in the different rhythm, and say what is the note, and he can do it so quickly. I just can't. I don't understand how those people can do it, but it's something what you are it's a gift, you know. So, and I'm totally out. I don't know from whom he got it, because I don't have this kind of gift. So it's really amazing.
Well, I'm sure got it from you too. But yes, it is, for me, it's fascinating, and lucky them. But we all are different, you know. As you say, you can learn the piece, you can play it. But I think what is the most important thing is your phrasing, your soul, and your sensitivity, how you play it. How you play it. You can have the best ear, you can have the best speed of your fingers. If you don't touch people by your music, that might be a problem. And certainly Eleanor didn't have that problem. She always touched her audiences
She was really absolutely special, and this is absolutely true. And Ella, you said the most wonderful words about her, which I really admire so much. And thank you also for your sharing your life, because it's also very, very rich and very unique and very special. And I'm so glad that you had time for us today, and that you could really speak and share all these things. And I'm sure that we will see very soon again. So I will be very happy to invite you again.
Thank you so much for having me. It was just great to spend an hour with you, far and away, and stay safe and healthy. We are at the difficult time right now everywhere. And congratulations on everything what you do. I mean, you are just such a role model for so many harpists. I mean, being fantastic virtuoso, orchestra player, and teacher. Speaking of talents and many talents, I'm just so delighted that I know you.
Ella, thank you. I don't like to hear this because I don't know how to react on it. So thank you very, very much. I don't deserve all these compliments, but I so much thank you.
I think you should feel kind of embarrassed having all of it. No, you're wonderful, Jana, and thank you for organizing this journey from 1987. It's a very important year for my life, and when I heard you doing this, I thought, wow, it takes me almost to my beginnings as a harpist. So
I am really, about 10 times during our interview, I have really the goosebumps. So I think that Eleanor was with us, first of all, and secondly, you really touched me so much, and I'm so happy because you can't really imagine how happy I am when you are not the only one who said that really this Congress was such a start of their life. That it's probably because it's our generation, most of the people, and I think that this is really something what is so special for us. And I'm just like flying in the heaven for making the people so happy. And thank you very much that you are one of those. And
well, thank you, Jana, and continue these wonderful things you are doing. And I'm looking forward to listen to your other interviews.
Thank you, Ella. Really take care, and I'm looking forward to see you. And thank you very much for all of what you were sharing today. Take care and stay safe. And greetings to Bloomington from me, from my heart.
Greetings to you and everybody who is watching. So
thank you. I wish also everybody wonderful, wonderful day, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I have a surprise tomorrow at 2 o'clock the European time. There is a surprise interview. I will not tell you who is coming to be interviewed, but you will be maybe surprised. So if you have time, you can watch. And then in the evening, it's 5 o'clock like today, we had the interview. We will have the harpist who was playing at the first concert of the World Harp Congress in Vienna. Tomorrow, because of course today was the last day. Before it was supposed to be the last day of the Worldwide Online Harp Congress, but because a very surprise happened that I found lost cassettes of the concert, I was very happy, honestly very happy. Even at the same time, very, very sad, because I found out that cassette was lost because it's a little bit damaged. So it's not totally complete, but still some of the concerts are saved. So I will broadcast tomorrow another performances, but it will be really the last concert of our Worldwide Online Harp Congress. But we will have 4 broadcasted tomorrow, 2 interviews, and I hope you will enjoy it. And I'm so happy that we had a wonderful time today, Ella. Thanks to you, and I'm thankful to everybody who was with us again. And I'm looking forward to see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock first, and then at 5 o'clock in the evening. So wish you a wonderful day. Take care.
Thank you so much, Liana.
Bye.